we call it back of the napkin calc, right? So yes, there's the back of the napkin calc. There's a gut feeling, but you can only go so far with that. When you're going million plus in revenue, when you're purchasing 20 plus houses a year, that's a different type of investor caliber. You're going to be too stressed out. You're going to drop the ball if you don't have the data supporting you. You don't have the software supporting you. You don't have a real business at that point.
You're listening to the Accredited Investors Only podcast, presented by Accredited Life.
All right, Irfan, welcome to the show. How you feeling this morning?
Great. Thanks for having me, Peter. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. So, man, I'm looking forward to this interview. I think you are one of the first people I met in the real estate game a little over 10 years ago. So, it's been amazing. Still studying.
I think it was 15 years ago, actually. 15 years
it's
ago.
It's really, right? It's just like, where'd the time go? I feel like it was just yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I can remember crazy. That day clearly, too. I remember it was like a night event in western suburbs of Pennsylvania. So it's pretty far away from me, but it was nice to meet you. And I mean, we're still connected today. So it kind of shows like how important relationships are and how important it is to maintain good business throughout the years.
And to just keep in touch. Obviously we're local, so we see each other that way. But we were just talking, we saw each other in Miami last year. So it's just like, and there's guys in the Philly area where it's like, man, you go anywhere in the country and you see them. You know what I mean? So it's just, that's the fun of this business, but keeping in touch and being able to see people grow and stuff like that. So who knew all that years ago we'd be sitting here doing this right now. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I'll probably learn more about you than I ever knew, and maybe vice versa. So I'm looking forward. Let's start with an introduction. For people who don't know who you are, who are you? What are you doing? Give me a little bit of your story.
Irfan Raza, I graduated from Temple University, Philadelphia. I kept in Philly, started my career in Philly as a CPA, actually. So I was a CPA, and on the side, I was buying houses and flipping houses, which is pretty crazy to think about today. And back then, like we were working long hours, and after those long hours and the breaks in between, I was picking up the phone, figuring out a way to buy houses and flip houses. So built a career there. And then 8 years later, in that career, I decided to go full-time real estate. So pursued my agent license, received my agent license. But that was like a very small part of what I was doing. I was buying very distressed housing, fully gut rehabbing that housing, and then either leasing it out and renting it out, or I was selling them. And through those actions, I built a portfolio of around 100 units. I still maintain a little bit less than 100 units today. And I saw the growth of my business in the sense that I built a marketing arm to the business. We named it Property Buyer Connect. We wholesale multiple properties a year. At one point, we were wholesaling over 50 deals a year.
Wow.
And then I saw also the downturn of the business, where my business was heavily dependent on interest rates. And a lot of the volume I was doing with the rental real estate was dependent on interest rates. And it wasn't just interest rates, it was acquisition price and construction price. And I always kind of blame interest rates because that was the last thing to go. As acquisition prices started creeping up, construction prices got higher and higher after COVID. And then the last thing to go was the interest rates. The interest rates started creeping up, and it almost created a product that I was used to building. I created a product that I was used to building go from profitable to pretty much no margins. So, and that was about 2 years ago at this point. So it's a very long introduction. So from accounting professional to real estate professional, and in the last 2 years, I'm pretty much back as an accounting professional. But I'm focused on working with real estate businesses and helping real estate businesses. And it's just not accounting. It's operations. It's helping businesses with what seems to be their weaknesses at this point. So,
Well,
a great time doing.
There's a lot to talk about there, and I'm curious. You went to, so we both went to Temple. I think I knew that, and you went down the path of being a CPA. You did that. You had a career there. When did real estate? How did real estate get onto your mind, and how did you? When you started doing it, what was that kind of introduction? Why did you say, I'm going to do this in that little bit of free time that you had at the end of a long day?
Yeah, so I mean, it goes back to my childhood. I was always building stuff, right? Like that was like my thing, my passion. I even had construction work for a little bit as well. And then I worked at Lowe's and Home Depot. Right? I worked at both those stores.
Wow.
So I just had it in me that I like to pursue construction, but I didn't think that was the path, right? Or I was told that wasn't the path, right? College is the path. Going in construction work is not the path. And even in college, in Temple University, that was when things were booming there, right? So
yeah,
everybody was taking these row houses, knocking them down, and building brand new construction or full gut rehab. I just thought that was amazing. I looked at that and I'm like, I want to do that. And it took me a while to figure out how to do that after school. But once we learned how to do it, it was just trying to figure out how to way to make money doing it and try to make it a full-time job.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because there's times when I go up to North Philly and around the Temple area and really a pretty large radius around there, I go back and I think, Jesus, if I was thinking the way that I think today, back when I was in college, holy shit. You know what I mean? Because there's just been, like, Temple really does give you this, like, unknowns to you maybe at the time. You seem like you do it a little bit better than I. Just so much real estate development, urban revitalization, because there's just so much was happening around that school, even till today. I mean, the new president that they put in, that they stole from Drexel, I mean, that was a big part of why they took him, because he revitalized and had his hands in a lot of massive developments down at Drexel that I think they want to repeat up at Temple. So it's amazing.
And then after college, I realized it wasn't just the Temple neighborhood. It was, we quickly went into the Point Breeze neighborhood. Point Breeze started taking off. And then I went to Brewerytown. Brewerytown started taking off. So there's just so many development opportunities in Philadelphia when I was actively purchasing in Philadelphia. It was amazing. It was pretty much, I was at the right time and at the right place at the same time, right? So it was, I had to make the move to full-time real estate because I was in, the golden era, right? Like you know how the old guys are like, back then I did this and I did that. You always hear their stories. Well, that's like my back then. Like back in 2016, you could buy a property, build a property, refinance it out quite easily. And get your true BRRRR method, right? Your all your cash out when you refinance, and that was an amazing time to be an investor.
So, talk to me about the foundation that you laid in from an accounting perspective, getting your CPA and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how did that help you in the real estate world? And then, like, the follow up to it's going to be, how did you fill in all the gaps? You know what I mean? So it sounds like you had a little bit of a construction background there and all. So I'm curious of, like, what foundation did you lay? I'm assuming it's through obviously the accounting CPA side, and then how the gaps get filled in from there.
Yeah. So, you can either pay for an education in building a business, or you can build your business and then pay later, right? Like I'm sure there's a nice saying that you could have, but, I think that, I mean, number one, I paid for an education, and then I got even more education being an accountant, right? I was looking at other people's books. I was correcting other people's books. I was auditing other people's books. I did a little bit of tax work as well. So I just had a great amount of business knowledge very early on in my career that most people didn't. I knew I knew how to set up a business correctly, and other people might have a little hesitation on setting up a business, right? I knew the ins and outs on the corporate docs, right? And all these things kind of just helped me initially. But what really helped me was as a CPA, you're forced to work with a team very early, right? And you're forced to supervise a team very early as well. So I think as a business owner, you have to be able to delegate your tasks. You have to be able to work with other people. And I was able to learn that skill very early on in my career. And because of that, I built my business in a different way, right? So when you hear of somebody building up to 100 units, I feel the more general story or the more repetitive story you hear is that I self-managed 100 units.
Sure.
I did this. I did that. I don't have any staff. I just have construction help. And it's always
A lot of gray hair.
Yes. I have a lot of gray hair too. But for me, it's always we, right? So early on, I realized that I needed help with this. I needed help with that. I even needed help with bookkeeping because bookkeeping took too long. I needed help with back office work because it was a non-profitable venture for me, right? There was other people willing to do bill pay bookkeeping for me at a lesser price, and I was able to find my higher margin work, which was acquisition and construction, and at that time it was more financing, but financing is readily available, right? You go to one IM event, you have 40 cards of lenders. So yeah, so in terms of what I was blessed with an understanding of business, right? Understanding of how to delegate my lower level tasks. What I needed to fill in, oh man, that's a tough question. I think there's everything else, right? So you mentioned I do have construction background, right? I did a little bit of construction work, but I didn't build full houses.
Sure.
I do have I do pretty much know every product in Lowe's and Home Depot because I stocked every product, right? But I think it goes back to how to put it together, right? Almost like project management skills, right? You can know everything about building a house, and I don't want to call out architects, but architects somewhat know everything about building a house, but can they do it? I don't know if they can do it. It's the actual project management style. It's the picking up your phone, calling 100 people to make one little thing happen. That's what I really had to learn. And I mean, still there's hesitation, right? Still there's hesitation on oh, I want to get this done, but let me put it off later. It's the standard procrastination of everybody. But
sure.
I think that kind of defines the business owners. The business owners are not scared. They make it happen, and they find a way to solve problems.
Yeah, I love that. And you were in a place where you really had to do that as well. You know, and you had a regular full-time job. When did you say I'm gonna do this full time? What were kind of some of the drivers there that you said? Like, when were you kind of ready for that mentally, physically, from a financial perspective, all that kind of stuff? Did you? 'Cause I know you got kids. I mean, did you have the family and kids at that time as well? I mean, there's so many pressures there, right?
No, I didn't have the family and kids at that time, but I will say that it was in my mindset. And you know how everybody has the 40th birthday or the 50th birthday over the hill? Well, for me, it was my 30th birthday. My 30th birthday was around the corner. I spent all my 20s just working all the time, like absolutely just working, because I was working full 12-hour shifts in accounting, and I was working another 3-4 hours in real estate, right? it was just so much work. And look, I built a good career in both of them, but I just felt that I had to take the next step. My 30th birthday hit May of 2016. I had to take the next step. I couldn't think about anything else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is, right? Like, I think there's people that say, I want to get into real estate. I want to do this. No, I needed to.
Yeah.
Right. And that was a big difference, right? The language I was using was need. I need to focus on real estate. And I guess everything kind of lined up together, and before I knew it, I was full-time real estate. So.
Wow. That's amazing. And you said you went, you got your license, that kind of thing. I mean, let's talk about the acquisition side of the business, because I think that's something you're pretty good at, and you have a unique perspective of it, because you have the wholesale business, and it sounds like that has obviously ebbed and flowed over the years as well. So what are some of the things you've learned from an acquisition standpoint, on finding good properties, on analyzing the markets and stuff like that and all? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I'm a CPA, ex-accountant. So my thought process is what am I good at? I'm good at data analysis. I'm good at running a business. I'm good at implementing software, right? My right-hand guy also very good at implementing software, very good at data analysis. So we had two of us that were very good at operating a business, right? Implementing the right software and executing. But what we were not good at was picking up the phone. We were not good at having a conversation with a potential seller. We were not good at, I mean, I would say that I do like negotiating, but we might have not been the best negotiators, right? So those three things, like, we were really lacking. And I think that how we resolve that is finding the person that is good at picking the phone, right? If you don't have the skill set yourself, you find the person or the people.
Yeah.
And we were able to develop a team, find out, research what the most cutting edge software was for outreach, whether it be mail, SEO, PPC, or other avenues like social media marketing, cold calling, whatever avenue was working at that time, we would shift focus to. And we were heavily reliant on KPIs, right? We are, again, that's our skill set. That's actually kind of what we're selling right now. We identify KPIs in our business, and we were able to move our marketing towards that KPI that was working the best, right? So if our cost per lead in mailers was working great, we started shifting our marketing to mailers. We identified seasonality in our business. So we would actually stop all mailers in December, January, February, and we would really ramp it back up in March. So we saw seasonality based on the KPIs. So we were, again, me and Alex, my right-hand guy, we were very good at the business side of things, right? Finding out what worked, what didn't work, and then bringing on the cold callers, bringing on the acquisition specialists. That helped us kind of solidify this business and help produce volume when we did the volume.
Jesus, how are you able to structure that? I mean, that's one of those businesses where finding good people, to do the cold calling and leads like that, I mean, and then to not screw you, it's such a hard part, right? And it's probably somewhat inevitable. And we'll have this conversation on the construction side as well, because that's the same kind of thing, right? It's just finding the good people and then just trying to mitigate, just getting screwed over the period of time. But from an acquisition standpoint, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm assuming in the wholesale business, there was properties that you wanted to buy as a fix and flip, or as something you were going to hold, versus other properties that you were going to wholesale to other investors, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And when you have those acquisition specialists, if you're sending somebody else there, to the property, and maybe you weren't. I mean, maybe they were just doing calls, and you were actually the one negotiating with the owners. I'm just curious how you structured them.
Yeah, so my skill set is behind the desk, right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell my kids I build houses, and they're like, "Oh, can you build this?" No, I build houses behind my computer, and it's the easiest way to say it, but it's also really confusing at the same time. So for me, going back to your question, how do you trust the people? I think that number one, you have to be fair with people. I think also often we hear, "Oh, I'm paying this guy this amount," and it's like, "Well, how are you paying this guy so low? What are you doing? Like, how is he happy with that?" And those questions start going through my mind a lot. So, number one is paying fair, being open to what type of responsibilities they might have outside of work, and creating an atmosphere of work-life balance. And then again, putting that person in a position that they will enjoy working, right? So, I wouldn't say I love being behind the computer, but that's my skill set. Um, the person we had acquisitions hated hated being behind a computer.
Yeah.
Right. So what we did is not put him behind a computer. We hired a VA to do the computer work pretty much for him. So he could go out in the market. He could go out talking to other investors. He could do everything that was needed for an acquisition specialist, right? So I think that was a way to build trust, build a working environment that was appreciated, right? And then once that was done, it was basically again, the compensation was fair. We talked about compensation on a continuous basis. And then I think letting go is something that people have trouble with.
Sure.
Right? There are people out there that can do stuff better than you. You just have to find those people. Our acquisition guy, he could contract a property better than I could. And once I learned that, it was completely hands off. Construction guys, there are contractors and construction guys that can build properties better than you can. There are electricians can do electrical work better than you can. Plumbers can do plumbing work. If you find the right guys, there's little to no need to oversee their work. Right? You just have to hire them, trust them, and do occasional site visits. And that's really how we were able to build everything up. Right? We hired the right people. We identified that they were the right people by testing them out, and then we allowed them to do what they needed to do in their respective businesses to help our business.
Yeah. I love that mindset. I think so many people in real estate, especially in single family and the fix and flip and buy and hold side, there's a lot of mindset around like I have to control everything all the time, and there's going to be some savings incorporated into that, but that's short term thinking, really at the end of the day, right? It's
and we see it still today, right? We're going on the operational side of businesses right now. We're helping the operational side. We're helping the finance side, and so many times the owner says, "I'm not ready yet. I need to clean up things. I need to create operations for the person working under me so I can have time." That's what we kind of do, right? So we help set up operations. We help set up the accounting functions in a business. And I think that the biggest pain point we have with from in our sales cycle, right? If we call it a sales cycle, is the owner wants to stay too involved. Just if you are hiring us, right, and you think we're the right fit, let it go. Let us take that operational piece out. Let us be your CEO. Let us be your CFO, and just trust us, right? Like we're coming in more as a partner rather than an employee, right? We are thinking like what is in the best interest of this business, right? And we try to make every decision based on that, right? So, example is like what items to tackle when, right? So what is the priority item? Okay, let's hit the priority item first. What is this is taking way too long. This could be um, easily done by a software or some type of scraping data off the internet. Well, we know that, but right now that's not priority to find somebody to scrape the data off the internet. Let's use a VA in the meantime, and let's do that first. So they'll manually go look in the website to look for tax balances, and then pull it into a spreadsheet. So we have all the tax balances together. In the future, what we're going to do is we're going to say, you know what, everything's clean and organized. Let's have somebody scrape the data off the website and find and compile a spreadsheet with all updated tax balances from the website, right? So these are things that we're constantly battling. We're trying to find the best way for the business to move forward. So, and I'm getting lost in your question, but I think the question was, Peter.
No, that was great. I mean, I feel like the question evolved a lot, and actually kind of leads in perfectly for kind of what the next set of questions was going to be. But what do you feel like are probably some of the core mistakes that you see over and over again that real estate investors are doing in their business? Let's start with that. I mean, what do you see like just is an easy kind of mistake that people make?
Yeah, so they're not able to have data that allows them to make decisions off the information that they're seeing, right? So they might have bookkeeping reports, but the bookkeeping reports are not providing valuable information for them to say, I need to do this, I need to focus on this subset of business, etc. That also is related to KPIs. They're not producing the KPIs needed to say, you know what, mailers are really working well. Let's push marketing mailers. They're not creating the KPIs to say, when we get a tenant less than 680 credit score, we're at more risk of default than if we go 680 and plus, and our current threshold is 640, right? So this type of information allows you to make decisions to help your business grow.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're seeing a lot is that software implementation has been either non-existent or not utilized appropriately, right? There is all types of software out there, right? In all types of real estate. So if we're talking about acquisition, direct marketing, real estate, there's 10 platforms to help you with the CRM process. If we're talking about property management, there's 10 property management softwares out there. If we're talking about construction, there's 10 construction softwares out there, right? So we have experience with 7 out of 10 of each one of those. And what we've identified is, number one, people are using Google Sheets and a combination of this and that, when they could be using a nice software off the shelf that we can help them implement. So I would say those are the two main things: software use and utilizing information to make decisions.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Yeah, and in the conversations I have with people and what we do in our business, I mean, it boggles my mind how people make decisions without having the data. Because and it's just, to me, like, it just naturally, and I know this from past stuff as well. You know what I mean? It's just, if you don't have the data, you're just kind of making gut feelings. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of real estate investors, they trust their gut, obviously, and if they didn't have a strong gut feeling about stuff, they probably wouldn't be a real estate investor. They probably wouldn't be in the business. You know what I mean? But there gets to be a point when I think the business gets a little bit too far beyond what you can just do with your gut. Yeah. I mean, and too, even if it's not, I mean, you're just, if you're not taking advantage of what you can do with data there, it's just, man, you're missing something. I mean, because to your point, it's just some of those, the key performance indicators, just to make sure the audience understands that.
Oh yeah.
The goals,
Fine.
you know what I mean? And I'm sure if you're listening, you've probably heard that term. You got to know it. But those, if you don't have the data, it's just, I don't know how you make smart decisions at the end of the day, but people are doing it every day, right? Just kind of going off a gut feeling.
We call it back of the napkin calc, right? So yes, there's the back of the napkin calc. There's a gut feeling, but you can only go so far with that. When you're going million plus in revenue, when you're purchasing 20 plus houses a year, that's a different type of investor caliber. You're going to be too stressed out. You're going to drop the ball if you don't have the data supporting you. You don't have the software supporting you. You don't have a real business at that point. So, and we found pretty good initial success, right? So we've always dabbled in this business for probably the last 8 years or so, just because people knew I was a CPA, so they'd say, can you help me out with this? Can you give me some consulting advice? And they always saw that I always had free time, right?
How do you have this free time? Yeah.
Yeah. So we were flipping 50 houses plus a year with wholesale and real flips. And we were adding around 20 units to our portfolio a year. And I was out on the boat fishing all the time. So they saw this and they're like, oh, well, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And that's where I was putting my active time in, to tell you the truth. But about a year back, Alex and I started putting our minds together and saying, look, we're getting asked to do this type of work more and more. Let's start marketing. Let's create a business out of it. Let's start hiring people for ourselves. We also do hire people for businesses, but like, let's hire people for ourselves so we can help these businesses grow. We'll help these businesses create efficient processes, help these businesses really build better, right? And look, I always love construction, right? I told you earlier on, like, construction was my thing. That's all where my heart was. I had to understand I might not be the best guy building houses, right? So if I'm not the best guy, why don't I team up with the best guys, right? Why don't I team up and still build portfolios, still be involved in real estate day to day, but I'm involved in real estate in a different aspect. I'm helping the operations side. And I still fulfill that need to build portfolios, to build houses, to kind of like I don't know, stay in the real estate construction realm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I think the combination of, and like you said, the COO and the CFO roles, they go so well together. That, they complement each other, and the one kind of, the data from the one drives decisions in the other and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a really cool balance there. And like, I think you're filling such a void, because it is one of those things I feel like is probably outside of like just people getting the construction piece down, that a lot of people struggle with that part, working with good contractors and, making sure things are happening quickly and all that kind of stuff. But once you get that down, I feel like the biggest hurdle people have is that data piece, is that implementation of the systems and the processes and all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about the cost. You know what I mean? Like, so how do you win people over from a cost perspective? Because when you have 100 units, it sounds like a lot, but there's obviously a lot of cost that goes into doing that and all that kind of stuff. So how do you? I'm sure that's a little bit of a hurdle that you find, right? Especially with somebody who is making a certain amount because they're wearing all the hats and doing everything.
Yeah.
And now all those things, the software, the bookkeepers, the different, working with you, all that stuff has a cost associated. So how do you balance that? I feel like that's one of the struggles with a single family portfolio. And that's where it becomes, the economy of scale that's so nice in multifamily. You need to replicate that to some degree in single family if you want to put all the right pieces in place to really have a business and not just a portfolio.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to communicate. I will admit that, but it's penny wise, pound foolish.
Yeah.
Right? And look, our rates our rates are not cheap. We are professionals. We are educated professionals. We have a ton of experience. But what we build is a company that pretty much runs on its own, right? That's our end product. Creates efficiencies, right? Utilizes software programs, creates valuable data to make decisions. If you don't have that valuable data to make decisions, you can lose your own business.
Yeah.
Right. So how costly is losing your business compared to paying a consultant, a professional to help you out?
Yeah,
Right. Like if you ask people that are bankrupt and you say, oh, could you pay this guy $5,000 for 6 months? If you had paid him $5,000 for 6 months, would you have done it? Now you're bankrupt, and it would almost guarantee you not be in bankruptcy at this point. They would probably say yes, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's an easy decision to make looking back. But we are seeing these people with struggles, right? With struggles that are leaving holes in their businesses, with inefficiencies that are causing them to sit behind a computer when they should be out selling and marketing and building their business. And again, the sale is not easy for us, right? We have to communicate that we are going to come in there and help create efficiencies, but the business owner has to understand that those efficiencies are going to allow them to build their business.
Yeah.
And once we get that match, then it's easy from there.
Yeah. And like you said, then there's some relinquishing control, not letting you do what you do, letting the systems, letting all that kind of stuff work its magic, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And not,
I shouldn't say it's easier from there. It's can I
can imagine that's not always, that's not easy. A lot of egos in this business, right? Well, one final point I want to talk about, because you mentioned it in the beginning of the show, and it's been in my mind. Let's talk about interest rates. Because I feel like it's a perfect storm, man. I mean, like, interest rates could have went up, but the property values and the cost could have stayed around the same. I mean, and then maybe you had your the ARVs behind it rose. I mean, so I feel like it was a little bit of a perfect storm, right? Especially in Philadelphia, where, to your point, the market has gotten very, very hot. I mean, we have found it, like, we've only bought 3 or 4 properties in Philly over the last year and a half, 2 years or so, and they were like, property or attorney, knew somebody, or somebody was moving out of the country, and they wanted to get rid of something. I mean, there were those kinds of deals where they just kind of fell on your lap, and it made a lot of sense that at the time. You know what I mean? So, but other than that, it's been really hard to make the deals pencil, that kind of thing. So let's talk about that for a little bit. I'm curious. I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I was talking to a big institutional shop, right? And it was probably like the CEO I was talking to. And I asked them, I don't understand how you have your deals penciling at this point, right? I'm faced with rising insurance, rising interest rates, rising repair costs, and my rents are relatively flat. And he says the same exact thing. Right. These are our struggles as well. And then I asked him again, how are you guys getting things to pencil? And he said, this, that, the metrics here, everything's strong. And he's giving me his sales pitch. And I was like, look, I'm in this business, except I'm in a different mindset, or a different level as you, right? And this is what I'm seeing. Everything is flat rental, this. And then he finally opens up and he says, we were purchasing and putting into service $1 billion of property a year for the last whatever years. The last 2 years, we did $50 million. Wow. Right.
Holy crap. So, that's a big difference.
A huge difference. And honestly, I probably have the same ratio as him. Right. There are still deals out there, but you have to be a little bit more careful in what you purchase. Right. The numbers look a little bit different. So in terms of buying properties, the goal might also be different too. So I have friends that were in slightly different real estate acquisition modes, right? So I'm more workforce housing, low income housing, maybe moderate housing. I've identified people that are in higher end of housing, that are identifying paths that make them margins that are consistent with what they need, right? And again, I have 3 kids at this point, so for me, with interest rates rising, I saw that I needed to take a different path, or I needed to um, find a different avenue, and that would create a whole new business.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't prepared to do that whole new business.
Yeah.
At that time. So I found that an easier business model for me was lending. And we started identifying investors that were able to pivot their strategy with what worked with the interest rate environment today. And we started lending instead. And honestly, that again keeps me in real estate, keeps me in construction, keeps me on everything that makes me happy, but in a different avenue.
Love it. What would you typically, were you 300 a door? Was that typically where you want it to be? Ideally higher? Did that start to shrink, or?
Yeah, so for us, it was more of pulling all the money out.
Okay, yeah,
the roof.
and I'll get you, yeah.
So,
Yeah, especially if you're using hard money or private money on the front end. If you can't get all your money, you're trapping money in deals. I mean, you're going to run out unless you're doing a whole lot of fix and flips on the side to kind of, be supplementing what you're leaving in. So,
yeah, so I think all these banks, all these lenders have their own calculations, and I wouldn't say we were relying on their calculations. We were doing our own calculations,
yeah.
but if you're able to pull all your money out, you should still cash flow, right? So, we were more concerned with buying our next property, building the business out, making sure that our overhead was covered with the flips and the wholesaling we were doing, and then making sure our portfolio grew and grew as much as we can get it.
Yeah. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I love what you're doing. I mean, I love the pivot. You know what I mean? Like, I think, I love you were seeing what was happening. You're in the trenches, and I think it's such a smart play. And I mean, to continue doing what you love, it's almost like you double down on what you love. I mean, you're still in the real estate space, you're still doing what you're doing, but you've defined it even more into the operation side, into the financial side of it. So absolutely love what you're doing. For somebody that wants to get in touch, I mean, and wants to learn more about what you're doing, and I think you are the person to be talking to if any of these things resonate with wanting to get more data in your portfolio, wanting to get more hands off. A lot of people, especially the listeners, accredited investors, where they want to get more on the passive side, implementing some of the things that you're talking about here with the systems and processes. Like you said, you're flipping houses, you're doing flipping contracts and all, and you're out on the boat. You're going to be able to help with that. And so how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so SBook Solutions is the financial business company that we are utilizing to help these businesses. And then you can reach out to me. Like, all my social handles are irfan.a.raza, IRFAN.a.raza, or AZA. So you can just reach out to me there. You're going to see a lot of fishing pics. You're going to see pictures of my family. But I think the first step in making sure that you want the time to go out on the boat while building your business is going out on the boat. So you could try to get at me for a fishing trip too, and then we'll take it from there. We'll have a deep conversation about business and life in general.
I love it. Well, Irfan, thank you so much for being here. Really enjoyed the conversation.
All right, me as well. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate it.